Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Andrew Davis, and welcome to my show. This is Conversations in Pop Culture, and yes, I am scandalous like an Ashley, and it's going to be a little awkward to read this ad, but I have to read it. I have to read it. It's a little awkward, guys, because my sponsor is actually here,
Thank
Preston.
you so
So,
much.
so hopefully I'm not going to mess it up this time. Hopefully. Obviously, this is brought to you and made possible, this whole show, partially by Pocket Jack Comics. And
Thank
they
you.
right now have some comics in comic stores, Guinevere and the Divinity Factory. And I think that
Yes,
came out in April. And I think it's in shops. I don't
it
think
is in previews right now, and Diamond's going to drop me a PO on May 7th. So hopefully everyone can go order from their comic store, and then on May 7th we'll all be happy with that.
that's the plan. And there's some good covers in there. So, if you're
Yeah.
looking for some very sexy books, some fantasy stuff, some stuff that is obviously pretty cool in that regard, there you go. You can go check that out, as well as Preston is on Whatnot at Pocket Jack Comics. And
I am. And for everybody listening in the Whatnot audience, I'm going to give away free stickers during the interviews.
So obviously there's that. And if you're not accustomed to Whatnot, you can actually go and you can use my code Andrew for, get a $15 credit as well as 15% off, some sexy comic artwork and all that fun stuff. But enough about that, because I have with me Preston Poulter. And obviously you've done a lot of stuff in comics. And I think your Whatnot audience who's listening in kind of has an idea of who you are. But briefly, who are you before we get into all the
I make comic books out of the North Texas area. I've been around to a lot of conventions, but for the most part, I stick to, Texas and surrounding areas. Although I was in Fan Expo Cleveland a couple of weeks ago, and that was a lot of fun. So, I make comic books. I also teach comic books and kind of mentor people through that whole process. And I've had a number of success stories, really. I think now you indicated you had an interest in John Lamont at one time. Did he come on your show?
He did, but I didn't get to see his lovely face. I was very disappointed.
Yeah, he's not quite set up the way I am, but yeah, John Lamont got his start with me, and Kyler out of New Mexico. He publishes under Abraxas Comics. I have a whole bunch of his comic books that he sent that I'm going to be selling on Whatnot next week. So everybody out there, be looking out for Alien Pterodactyls. And I think it was like his third or fourth comic, like his work with me. Alien Pterodactyls broke, like $13,000. And, he thanked me quite a bit for the help I gave him and the guidance and working with Keith Garvey and all that good jazz. So
let's actually talk about that a little bit, because I think that there is a science and a methodology to Kickstarter. And I think that there's a science to everything in life and how to be successful and how not to be successful. And I think, obviously, I think if anybody who runs a Kickstarter and you fund above your goal, I think that is success in of itself, because there's plenty that fail. But then there's also real success where you've now done 5 figures, or then you've done over 5 figures, and then you've done it again and again and again. And so I think that that's kind of what I've noticed with a bunch of your people that you've mentored, like John Lamont and a few others, where they've done 8,500, then they do 9,500, then they do 10,000, then they do 11,000. And they're not doing $1 million, but they are slowly growing their audience, slowly growing their backer value, as well as their backer count. And so what is that like? Because I think that's a real art in what you are teaching and helping out with, that people can sort of figure out and watch and pay attention to.
Thank you. So I got into comic books kind of out of screenwriting, and I used to be a salesperson in related to the pharmaceutical industry, and was where I got exposed to quality systems and Six Sigma and whatnot. And I found when I came to comic books, like that training kind of was what I decided to fall back on. It was, what I knew in terms of business. So first look out to your customer base. And believe it or not, we were talking about this in my Discord today with Kyler from Braxis, and he's like, I've done a poll, and what people really value is good interior art, and just that is something I've reinforced with everybody. But like my books have really great interior art because it's something that people value, and they wanted them priced fairly reasonably and delivered quickly. And of course, they want the story to be good. So I'm like, okay, how do I meet all those metrics? So I run writing workshops on my YouTube channel to try and get people's writings and stories, tip top. And myself, I throw the best art budget I can. And Guinevere and the Divinity Factory, if you look at those interiors, and I was really, thanks for your support, Andrew. And Comic Tropes gave me a shout out and an endorsement of Guinevere this month, and I appreciate that. And I think part of the reason why I got into Diamond is it's a good looking book. The interior pages look good. So that's what I've told John Lamont and Kyler and people like that is, okay, try and put out the best quality book you can in terms of how good's the interiors, how good's the story, are you going to be able to deliver it quickly? And, of course, we work with them on trying to finance it as best they can in terms of structuring, okay, here's your main retail cover, and then your variant covers. And that's where I turn them on to Keith Garvey and the idea that, boobs. And for instance, this sticker right here is the next one I'm going to be giving away. And this was something I worked with John Lamont on. And you find this kind of exciting, where I commissioned 100 of my own special covers for John Lamont. And so that cover sold out of Miss Temperance, done by Marissa Pope, who has been on your show, I think, or something, right?
Yeah, she's on my show.
Yeah. So, there we go.
So I want to touch upon this because I think this is interesting, because I think that comics are interesting right now, in my opinion, at the very least, where you have this, I guess, not say variant-esque group and idea coming in. And then you also have, people wanting good stories, and you need to kind of, I feel, find the intersection between those two things, where you need a variant that is kind of sexy and is very topical at the moment, but you also need something to keep somebody there, because it's great when I go and buy a variant. I'm like, cool, I like the art, but then what happens when that artist isn't on your book? Hopefully you want somebody to crack open your book.
And here's where we come down with the sadly jaded revelation, I think, of talking with other people in and around the field of comic books, and that's, do people even really read what we put out? And I have a feeling a lot of times where you got a lot of covers, for instance, White Widow, which I will be liquidating on Whatnot this Friday. I got a box and a half of White Widow, and I've been carrying White Widow for a while, and in talking with people about it, it's very cover focused. They like the cover. And when I honestly, every conversation I've had about how's the story or how's the interiors, they're like, eh. So it's kind of lackluster in that regard, but there's a ton of covers for it. But I think that'll only take you so far. And one of the things that I was happy to see about my campaigns and John Ken's campaigns and Kyler's campaigns is that they've been growing. And I feel like there's a fair number of comic book creators that they put together their first campaign and it comes out, and everybody who's going to want to back their campaigns backs them. And then when it comes to campaign number 2, well, your friends already backed you on campaign number 1. And so now it's just, oh, hello, Cheyenne. And so now it's just down to who's going to back, issue number 2. And you'll see those numbers dip. And then when we get to issue number 3, those numbers dip again. And I'm just really happy that John is growing and Kyler's growing and I'm growing. And look, if you're growing your business, it's a good sign.
Yes, so let's actually even talk about that too, because I've noticed that a bunch of people who only are doing covers, they're not really focusing on their story. They are slowly dying.
Yes.
It's
And look, there's been, I don't mind feeding the drama on occasion, but Clint Stoker, I used to do interviews with him. I don't know if he's ever come on this channel, but he did did Downcast on Indiegogo back in 2019, I want to say. And then he put in some big numbers, but like Downcast number 4, when I looked at it, wasn't even over 10 grand, which is like a big, massive cut for him. And a lot of those orbiters in that whole Ethan Van Sciver sphere, I notice, have fallen off quite a bit. If we wanted to talk about that or make observations, but I have seen creators in my sphere.
What I've noticed, and I haven't played an Indiegogo, so I can't really speak to that. But what I've noticed is that there are creators who were killing it and had top artists, and then they just had a campaign or two that just went poor, and they thought they were going to do 30, 40,000, and they wound up doing like 22,000, which is still impressive nonetheless.
Yes, 22 should be enough to cover your costs.
But when you go out and you get like legitimately 5 of the top artists, and all of a sudden a fourth or
we must be talking about a certain someone that I know.
There's a few. It's not just the certain somebody. It's a few that have done this. So not to single anybody out, but a few people have done this, and it's crystal clear that all of a sudden now, when they come back for their next campaign, they can't afford anything because they can't carry the debt. And I think this is very interesting because I think it's a shift is going on right now in comics, where it's now not just, okay, you got Keith Garvey on your book, you're going to automatically do 10,000. I think that a lot of artists aren't carrying their weight and pushing the book over. I don't think anymore. I like Keith Garvey, and I don't think he's going to mind me using it, but I don't think if you have
look, that guy was he was absolutely the number one guy I recommended when people came to me and said, who do you think I should commission for a variant cover like Keith Garvey? He's really good.
He's great, and I love his work. But at this point, I think 3 years ago, Keith Garvey would have pushed the book over. I don't think Keith Garvey alone now pushes the book over. I think he helps, but I don't think he's pushing the book over because I think things have changed. Was my point.
Yes.
I think
things have definitely gotten tougher.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm just curious because obviously we all know who I'm talking about. It's not a secret who I'm talking about, but he's not the only one. He's not the only one who spent a lot of money on cover artists and isn't making it. And I have my own theories, and we get plenty controversial, but a lot of us are late because I think people don't have the money to cover their printing costs because they are spending too much money on certain components of their campaigns. And I think that's a real problem. I think it's becoming more and more evident. A book that was supposed to be on time and delivered to me in September is now going to be delivered to me in June. And the book was funded in 2023. Then it was funded in 2022. It's supposed to be in September 2023. It's now June 2024. And it's a big name. And so, and the book did, I think, like 50,000. So it should be more than enough.
You should be. Yes. And that's where it comes back to a quality focus. It comes back to business is honestly not hard. And I've approached the comic business as an outsider, but from the point of view of this is not hard. Customers' expectations are fairly well defined. Just meet them. Just meet those expectations and you'll grow. That's it. That's all you got to do. And there are, let's talk about one guy I work with, Larry Holder. He has kind of experienced that a little bit, and that I put some sexy cover art on his stuff, and it did okay, but his latest crowdfund is down from the numbers we were getting like a year and some change ago. And so I think part of that is, he's doing his books on the cheap and is doing his own color work, and he likes doing his own color work, but his interiors don't look magnificent. They look but he's having fun, and he's making his stories, and he doesn't want to stop. So Good on you. Keep on. You know, there are reasons sometimes why people are deviating from necessarily like delivering the highest customer expectation meeting product in the world, particularly when we're talking about art and people's involvement and, you know, personal involvement in what they make. That's cool. But when it comes to comic books, the crazy thing is this used to be what like Richard C. Meyer used to talk about like 2019. It's a hot dog. It's not hard. Just, you know, just provide a good product and don't worry about it. But sadly,
do you think that also, I mean, because we were touching upon this where obviously I run an eBay business. My objective is to find a book, try to get that book for as cheap as humanly possible, and then sell that book to my customer for a price where I'm making, if I'm selling a book for 60, ideally I want to make 10 to 12 bucks in pure profit on the book after I put money aside for taxes, pay the book back, and my eBay fees. And I'm not looking to get rich off of one book. I'm looking to get very wealthy running a business. And so, and then I want to get people their product as fast as humanly possible. And it kills me when I order a book and then it's 3 months out. It kills me because I want my customers to get that book as quick as possible. And so,
there you go.
You know, when somebody's like, yo, dude, I bought the book yesterday and it's going to be here in 4 days. Like, this is unbelievable. And people are shocked. And I'm like, but why? I want it when I order something, I want to be like Amazon. I want to order it and I want it there the next day.
Yes. And I really don't, there are some people in the sphere of comic book creators who have adopted the attitude of, you know, this is art. Part of your bargain is providing for the artist to allow them the time to leisurely create something timeless. And that the idea that you've already made it and you're coming to the crowdfunding platform with this thing already in hand, ready to ship out, is like cheating and disingenuous and should be avoided. And I don't agree. So,
I mean, let me ask this, because I came across a campaign that really bothered me. And again, this is going to get controversial, where the person said, we're not going to start inking the book and start pencils until we hit our funding goal.
Yeah.
And my response to that was saying, wait a second, doesn't that violate the fact that you don't have any skin in the game? Where you're asking to kickstart something up, yet you're not going to start any work on your book until you are fully funded. That, I think, is insane, because I thought I don't have a problem if a book is only half done when you kickstart it.
Yeah.
Because I understand that not everybody can fully fund and spend $3,500, give or take, on producing a book and take a $3,500 risk.
Yes.
But I expect you'd have at least $800 to.
I mean, at the same time, I got to say, a $3,500 risk doesn't seem that big in the grand scheme of things, you know?
Oh, I'm saying if this is what you want to do and you make $60,000 a year, and that you are basically saying, look, I'll put 1,000 in, I'll have 10 pages or 8 pages in, and I'll have a preview, and then we're going to kickstart the rest. To me, I don't have that. That doesn't bother me as a creator, because I understand that not everybody, when they're first starting out, can necessarily do that, or they don't want to jump and take that risk, and they want to sort of go, you know, I guess, baby steps in, for lack of a better word. What bothers me is when you are doing none of that and saying we'll start after we basically get funded on inking and that's crazy to me. And it's why this project.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's definitely going to hurt your numbers. And I think it'll also hurt your repeats, because even if you back a campaign and they're like, oh, you're not going to get it for a year or something, and you accept that as part of the bargain, your enthusiasm to read it is going to wane, you know? And oftentimes, and people talk about this, they get a comic book in the mail and they don't remember ordering it. And they're like, oh. And then they have to go, oh, yeah, right, that's right. I did order the thing. And, of course, when you're kind of vaguely recollecting, oh, yeah, years ago, like, how do you remember what your pledge level was and all that stuff? And, like, people don't have an excitement to unwrap it and to read it anymore. They're just like, that thing arrived. Anyway. By the way, everybody listening to me on Whatnot, here's a free Marissa Pope sticker from my collaboration with John Lamont, and I'm giving that away right now for whoever wants to get in on that. So there you go. Anyway, you were saying, Andrew.
Oh no, I like that sticker. I like that sticker.
Yeah.
That sticker's awesome.
You should get in on it. It's cool. I like Marissa's art the one time we worked together, the one and only time. Let that be a great testament to the only collaboration we will ever have.
Oh no, I like that sticker. Stickers are fun.
Stickers are fun.
There's
a naughty version, but I'm not gonna put that up. I'm gonna keep this a clean show.
Yeah, I'm already in enough trouble on YouTube. I am technically in a warning because I did do an interview with somebody.
What happened?
No, I interviewed Savannah Fox. It was a good interview, but Savannah Fox is absolutely fantastic. And let's just say that she wore a bikini on my show, and YouTube was not happy with that.
Really? Although, I mean, there is that whole Twitch streamer, hot tub stream bikini, and that is a whole world I've not followed. But I do see people talking about it, and I'm like, man, YouTube and Twitch are just weird.
So YouTube
I'm streaming in my hot tub. Yeah.
YouTube gave me a warning. I was fine with the warning, and I'm on behavior until April 7th. So because if I get a strike, I can't do anything for a week, and it's gonna suck. And I'm just like, great, it's gonna suck. So I have to be on my best behavior for the most part, and I do not want to push YouTube and the gods of YouTube because they control my destiny. But I digress. But I do want to dive into this a little bit further because, again, what you just said I think is so crucial. Where I can tell you that I'm backing out of Kickstarter because so many projects that I have backed are late, and it's not that they're late beyond when they should be here and then some. So I have projects that are years late. I have projects that I don't think I'll ever see the light of day of. I have projects where, the double impact situation with Comics Lead and Ricky, I forget Ricky's last name, but he just sold Double Impact. So what the hell does that mean for that Kickstarter? These are all complicated questions. And then on top of that, there are people's books that I'm never going to see. There's people's books that are years out, if not decades out at this point, and if they're ever going to do it. And to me, there seems no consequence for any of this. And so I'm getting to the point where I'm like, you know what? If I'm slowly backing out, and then there's people who owe me projects from a year ago, and then they're running 5 other projects, and I'm like, where the fuck's my book?
Yes.
And and so I'm getting fed up. And I don't know where you deliver. I like your books. Your books are right.
Have you read Guinevere, by the way? Oh, incidentally, last 30 seconds to get in on the sticker giveaway. But yeah, have you read Guinevere, Andrew? I think it's pretty solid.
I don't think I've read it. I might have read the first issue.
Well,
I don't know if I read the whole thing out right yet.
I mean, we've got some gorgeous interiors. There's a sexy succubus. There's an evil robot. There's boobs. There's magic. There's everything you could want in a story, and it's all done, all 5 issues, and it's gonna be in your local comic store. You can order it now, and it'll be there next month.
No,
and congratulations, Lee Duva. I brought him over from YouTube and Twitter, and now he's in Whatnot. Now he won a sticker. So congratulations. This is going out in the mail to you.
So no, I'm not opposed to Guinevere. I just didn't get around to reading it. And I think you sent the first 2 issues too a while ago, just digitally. Yeah. But again, it's been a while since I've read it, and so I'm not opposed to picking it up again and reading it again. But again,
please,
because I know it's got kind of like a Wizard of Oz, wizardy feel, magic element.
It's not Oz, because there are a lot of Oz projects. Because Oz is a big name, and it's in public domain. So, I sell Tom Hutchinson's books. And in fact, I do Whatnots on occasion, auction some of the whiskey paint covers I did of Tom Hutchinson's The Legend of Oz. And people like it. I'm able to move those books at conventions. And I think Mount Olympus I saw on Kickstarter today, give them a free plug. They've got an Oz book. So there are a number of Oz books, but Guinevere is not an Oz book. Guinevere introduces, my own character. And as I tend to tell people at convention, it's like Harry Potter, but slutty. She used to be a stripper, and now she's out to be a witch, and as a succubus trying to steal her soul. So, welcome.
And that's the day. I would say I lost my sponsor, but you are my sponsor, so I don't think I could lose you for that comment.
Yeah.
But no, but let's actually talk about Guinevere and everything going on with that, because obviously you're coming into comic shops, and obviously Diamond is distributing your book. And what is that? Because again, a lot of stuff's happened in comics. Obviously, DC and Marvel left Diamond, and I think that opened up a lot of stuff. I think Diamond's, standard has changed maybe as far as what they're looking for, and not necessarily. And they might even be looking for better projects, more interesting projects, and things that might sell in shops. And I think there's more opportunity. Maybe standard's not the right word. Opportunity might be a better word for this. But what is that like for you? Because being in comic shops now is, I guess, a good thing, because people are fed up with the big two, and people want alternatives. People want other options. And if you got awesome, stories and awesome covers, if a shop can make money, you can make money, and everybody can make money. It's a good thing, I guess.
Yes. I would assume it is. So I'm happy to be working with stores, and I'm happy to be calling them on calling them on the phone. And I talked to, Bedrock City, and I got in on their, which is a big chain here in Texas. And now that I'm in Diamond, my approach to conventions has changed, and I didn't expect it to, but I will go to a convention and I'll look around for comic book stores, because anybody that's got like a bunch of tables of flat boxes of comics, I'll go, hey, do you have a brick and mortar? And if they do, then I'm like, I'm in Diamond, I make comic books, here, take a look. And I want to develop, like a client relationship, and I'll follow up with them after the show and say, hey, it was nice meeting you, and send them a link so they can see my stuff. It's certainly changed.
Do you also feel that because you're in Diamond, that there's also a different respect level? Because now you are a quote unquote, and I hate to use this word, professional or published or professionally distributed, for lack of a better word, and so now somebody's like, oh, he's not just an indie guy on Kickstarter doing 30,000, he's legit. And it's perceived.
Yes. So there absolutely is a prestige level towards being in Diamond distribution. Everybody I've talked to in comic books, when I let them know, hey, Guinevere and the Divinity Factory is in comic stores, they're like, congratulations. Everybody congratulates me. I appreciate that. Of course, the more important thing is going to be how many copies get sold. And that's why I'm here on your show. And I am sponsoring your broadcast and telling people about it on Whatnot and all that good jazz. Because I'm trying to get the word out, because that's really the big number. If you can put down a lot of copies sold, and particularly if that seems to translate to Kickstarter sales, which I've noticed, like that comic book creator who we were talking about, who hired all those cover artists, when he got distribution through Diamond, his deal with Antarctic, I feel like his numbers on Kickstarter went up. And I feel like it's because he was being exposed to a larger audience.
No, because again, I don't know if that's true though. So much in general though, and the reason why I challenge on you on that is that I don't know if the comic shop audience is the same as the Kickstarter audience. I think it's the other
No.
way
I
around.
mean, there's some overlap. There's absolutely some overlap.
I agree. I actually think what it
Yeah.
is that I think that there's a bunch of people who say, I don't want to touch Kickstarter. I've heard horror stories, or yeah, people like me who are becoming disenfranchised with Kickstarter, where I was very much on it. And then there's just been a bunch of, in my opinions, just lateness, and I'm getting fed up that I'm like, I'd rather wait for that book, or I'd rather go back to comic shops for a
Yes.
while because I know I'm going to get my book. And so I feel
Yeah.
like,
I mean, you know, you're going to get your book 100%.
and I feel like people are now going into a shop is tapping another market, and it's kind of saying Kickstarter's not the be all end all. Where you kickstart it, you hit up that first market, and then the comic shop, I don't want to say it's gravy, but it's hitting and getting into a secondary market that you weren't
Yes.
already in, that
Yes.
you're making money in, and then
And
obviously
that's where I'm happy in that the biggest thing it represents. Well, yeah, it's a big thing. All right, because the business model, as I've stumbled into it, is the books start on Kickstarter, and you're able to sell the variant cover to the variant cover market, and you make a good premium. And the premium you're making on those variant covers allows you to cover the fact that you're only printing a batch of like 300. You know, if you go to a printer and you're like, hey, I need to print 300 or 500 comic books, your cost is going to be, you know, $3 a copy, maybe $3.50 a copy. I was talking with one guy over the weekend. He was saying, you know, his print cost was like $4 a copy, you know, and he was selling a book for 10. Well, I think it's easier to sell a book for 10 if it's like limited edition, sexy cover. You know? People feel like they're getting decent value. You know, like, hey, Keith Garvey, I issued 100 of these. I'm gonna sell them for $15. You know, people will shell out for that. So, and if you're only doing, you know, a few hundred for a Kickstarter, then you got a fairly high average pledge for the quantities you sold out, and then you get the book done. And then when you get several books done, then you put them in a trade paperback, and now you have something to talk about at conventions, because a trade paperback represents a lot of value to people. You know, they're like, oh, wow, it's the whole story. I can buy it, a autograph it, take it home, you read it, give it to your friends. And that's great. And I've been doing that basically since I got into comics. You know, like my first ambition was to really get 5 issues done so I could have a trade. And I've got 2 trades now. I've got Guinevere, I've got White Lily. I'm about to have Palace in another 6 months. That's going to be a big seller for me. I'm excited about. I've been reading Palace of the Golden Princess, but it is sexy and kinky and women in charge, and it's wonderful, and people seem to like it. But I've had that whole model, and I've largely considered diamond distribution just kind of this thing that might happen one day, and who knows. But now that I'm actually doing it, it allows for the printing of more than a few hundred. So now I can print, you know, by the thousands. And so now my print cost from comics has gone down to $3.50 or $4, down to like $1. And that's a big difference. Now I can talk to comic book stores, and if they, you know, I can offer them a discount. I can go, hey, you buy it from me for $2 each, you know, and it's, everyone's happy, you know. So
let's actually talk about that too, because obviously I have gotten into the wholesale game with certain people, and there's a big difference when I'm able to buy a book for $7.50 or $8, and I'm able to sell for $20 versus
where do you sell it? eBay, I guess.
Yeah, so I'm selling on eBay for the most part, and I do a little Whatnot, but I've just been taking a break from Whatnot.
Whatnot is definitely a tougher market in terms of like what price you can expect people to fork over.
Yeah, I find Whatnot's actually easier for me to pick up books off.
Okay, yeah.
You can, depending on where you're going, you can pick up stuff cheaply.
Sure.
And again,
like my streams, you can definitely pick up stuff on my stream. And like this Friday, 3:00, I'm gonna be getting rid of a whole bunch of White Widow. So if you want to get in on the White Widow auction, I encourage you. There's some flippable books there.
Without a doubt, I'll consider if a crisis is not happening at my job.
Okay.
Because hopefully nothing's gonna break at my job.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I have some White Widow books, and they are a pain in the ass to sell. As much as I love
Yeah, I think I have it.
as much as I love
Yeah.
Jamie Tyndall, those books,
Yeah.
they're not
Yeah.
easy to move. They're not easy to move. So I feel you. Um,
No. Yeah.
a few of them are easy to move. Like the lenticular,
Well, they were hot ones, right?
no, like the lenticular one is an easy $18 move all day.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
But it's like, I mean, that book cost me like $6. So that's a good position, but I'm not getting rich off of that book. I mean, I'm making like
No.
what, $3.50 in that book. It's terrible.
Yes.
It's just it's pitiful. The only reason why I have these books is that I bought a blaster, like a loot box from Jamie Tyndall, and it had some really good stuff in it. So I bought, like, it had the his, I forget what book it was, but it was like the Mario books that he did. And
Okay.
all of those books just sold out. So it was like $120, like, I guess, mystery box. And the three
Yes.
books covered the whole thing plus some. So
Yes.
the other 7 books in there, I think like 2 or 3 of them sold out pretty nicely, but the others are, for lack of a better word, tough sells, and they're kind of garbage books. So if I get $10 for the rest, I would be thrilled. Like I'll be very honest. It's just a tough sell. So I agree. So
Yes.
but I feel you. I feel you. Not to ruin your sales pitch for White Widow. I'm sorry.
That's quite all right. Come by, everybody. Friday on Whatnot. I'm going to be selling some White Widow, which you may discover is hard to move yourself. Come on. It was hot, and now it's not. And in part it's because Jamie Tyndall and Benny Powell have fallen out, and that's a shame.
Yeah, I could see that. And look, his books come and go, right? I mean, if you've been around long enough, everybody is well aware that books come and go. And there's nothing wrong with things coming and going in society. I mean, look, there's going to be a day where Zenescope is on a cold path, and then it will come roaring back. And it's already done that. It's already done that once. And
speaking of, I think I'm going to be selling some Zenescope books on Whatnot here in like a week or two, because my volume on Zenescope's dried up quite a bit lately. I don't know if you've experienced that, but it seems like a tough market for indies right now, as I guess what I'm saying.
I think it's a tough market in general for comics. I think right now what's working in my eBay store is a lot of baseball cards, and a lot of cards are working. And so what's working really well for me with Zenescope is their cards. I sell a lot of the Zenescope cards on eBay, and they work. And so, you buy a pack for, $10, and then I'm selling 2 of the cards out of the 4 in there for like $22. And it's costing me like 64 cents to ship it. I pay the shipping, so I'll get a 64 cents shipping thing, and all of a sudden, I'm selling like 2-3 cards out of a $12 pack, and I'm making $30. I mean, it's so that's what's working for me. But their comics are tough right now to sell, and even I put back from buying what I buy from them, both just directly. Like, I'm just kind of like, and I don't think their merch is bad. I just think that the market's rough right now.
Yes.
And I'm curious what you feel about that, because I don't think it's just the market for Zenescope. I think it's the market for a lot of stuff. I think collectively comics are in a very tough position, and I am obviously in a different position than other people where I'm buying and flipping books. So I haven't created a book, but I know for a fact a lot of people are having a hard time where they're funding, but they're funding in week 3 when they used to fund in week 1. And that's a big difference. If you're asking for $10,000 and you funded in week 1, and now you're funding in week 3, you're lucky if you get to like 13, 14,000.
Yeah.
And before, these people were getting to like 20, 22,000. And that's a big difference between those two numbers.
And that's where I was pleasantly surprised that John Lamont brought in 17 with his, Angel of Darkness 4. Because at a time when comics seemed kind of hard hit and a lot of people are finding their crowdfund numbers lower. His numbers went up. And part is because he had a sexy cover with Whiskey Paint. He was one of my favorite artists that I recommended to everybody.
No, it's interesting. It's interesting. And so obviously, I mean, this is just what I think. And I'm always curious what you think, because I think you have an interesting perspective that differs than other people. And I think it's partially because of the fact that you come from a screenwriting position. I think it's also the idea that you sell books. I think it's also who you are an authorized dealer for. I don't know if I could say that, or I don't want to mention the name because I don't know.
Okay.
No. Is it okay if I mention who?
What, like Brian Pulido?
Frank Frazetta. I thought you do some authorization with.
So I work with a really colorful local character who has a business called Vanguard Publishing, and he was the guy that helped me get into Diamond. So he's an old timer. He's been around. He's a charming fellow, and he helped me, and he allows me to sell his books that he works with the Frank Frazetta estate, and they do well at conventions.
And so obviously this is why I think you're interesting, because you obviously have a very different, I think, position.
Yeah.
I mean, do you also work with Brian Pulido, or is an authorized dealer?
I do also work with Brian Pulido, and Lady Death has slowed down, but I'm still selling Lady Death, and I'm happy to sell Lady Death. I think quality is still around, and people are going to buy Lady Death when they're not buying Zenescope. And I want to put my books out there as being something that offer good value to people, tell a good story, get people excited about the art, and hopefully have them come back for the next one.
Let me ask you this, because obviously, I mean, I have a very pessimistic view on the next 18 months in comics.
Okay, fair enough. I could. Why 18 months?
Because I think the economy is going to be in stagflation. I think that
but that's where I think limited edition comic books.
Please.
Okay, sure. Okay, go ahead.
I just fucking with you. Yeah. Continue, please.
So I have a lot of thoughts about stagflation. I've been happy with the performance of my gold investment, and I'm a libertarian, so I've always been like a hard money guy, and I think we need to go back to gold standard and all that, and no one listens to me, and that's fine. I just enjoy the value of your money going down. But that's where I really like comic books, because I'm like, look, like an artist like Keith Garvey, he did 100 of these, or Whiskey Paint, they did 50 of these. Like, this should have value that is independent of the value of your currency. If the dollar goes to crap tomorrow, I can sell Guinevere in yuan, or whatever the new currency comes in. If we finally have that Bitcoin takeover, whatever. So these are investments. If you making money and investing is tough, but from what I understand, people who have taken money and invested in like the most in-demand comic books, Amazing Fantasy, 15, and Detective Comics, the first appearance of that, people who have bought like the key issues have done well over a fairly long period of time. Like those comics go up.
If you're going to buy a Hulk 181 and you're going to hold on to it for the next 30 years, you're going to do just fine. If you're going to be holding on to it for the next 2 years, and your objective is to get out in the next 2 years, you may or may not do well. But if you're looking at a 15-year period, you're going to do just fine, because when you have more time, you have more ability to recover between the dips, and you could ride the wave. The issue is that when you get to the people who buy it for 6 months and then want to flip it and they want to make a quick 10 grand, that's when you got the issues. and that's when people lose a lot of money. That's when I steal your book. Exactly. So that's when you get swindled out hard. But I mean, the reason why I think it's going to be a tough 18 months is that I think the economy isn't exactly being forecasted correctly. I think it is much worse than the government is letting on.
Yes.
I think there's going to be a breaking point.
I agree with you on all this stuff. I'm like, yes.
and I think that one or two things is going to happen. The stock market's going to go up, which
possibly
is not necessarily a bad thing, but I don't think that it's correlated, or it's going to go up and then it's going to come down even harder, or it's going to crash really hard.
I'm actually look, I manage money, and I've been really contemplating that question a lot these last few days. Like, I just saw, now we're off the topic comment, but I just saw on Twitter today, like the NASDAQ, and it's like, it's formed a double top. And I'm like, this feels like this is going to be a long, hard summer. So yeah, I think we could be in for some unpleasant times. And part of that is what we're seeing in comic books. People have less money to throw around on Cinescope and White Widow and Kickstarter,
So I mean, this is my whole thing, is that, again, I'm long in it. I'm betting on America. I trust my portfolio. Obviously, I manage my money in, and it's a sizable sum. And so I feel very comfortable. I also have a company that has taken a massive hit. And I'm really looking forward to the back end of 2024, early 2025. Commercial real estate is going to be interesting, because I think that's what's really going to kick off a problem.
Yes, 100%.
Commercial real estate is going to have to refinance a lot of debt. Early 2025 is when it's going to hit in the U.S., and it's going to be like Evergrande or Evergreen or whatever that Chinese company that went insolvent, bankrupt.
The one. Yeah, exactly.
What a disaster. What a Patrick Boyle did a great job with that video. It could very well be like the Boston Celtics right now. They're 6 points and they're just crumbling. It's very upsetting. $10 on them. So,
wow. Yeah.
Nobody better ask me if they lose for a pledge on Kickstarter. That is not the time. But don't worry. The Nuggets will win it back for me. But not
all right. So you are long Celtics and Nuggets.
I'm long Knicks and Nuggets. I think the Knicks
and Nuggets. Okay. All right.
This way, the Boston's playing the Heat, and they don't have Jimmy Butler. So I thought it was a safe bet, and I thought Jason Tatum would have pushed it through. Clearly, Tatum isn't playing his best right now. He had a stellar performance like 3 days ago, and I'm disappointed. I'm gonna have to write him a letter.
It is tough to do store. I don't even attempt sports betting, so it's not my field.
I was doing good, and then Jason. Okay, let me explain the reason why I bet on the Knicks. Brunson, everybody but Brunson's doing their job on that team. The only reason why the Knicks are doing well right now is because everybody but Brunson is playing well. It's amazing. Like, the guy who should be bringing this team and scoring like 50 points a game is like sucks. And everybody else is like, we got this. New York needs a championship. We know the Yankees and the Mets aren't going to do it. And New York needs a win here. And so the Knicks understand very well that it's all on them to bring glory back to New York. But I have digressed there. But getting back to this whole thing about comics, and the reason why I ask you is that I just think there's going to be less money, and I think people are going to be a lot more selective, and I think it's going to be really tough. And I'm very pessimistic, because I'm looking at stuff and I'm saying there's going to be a really shitty day in the market and a lot of stuff. And if there's a 50% discount in the stock market, I want to buy there. And so I'm starting to put money aside and not into comics. And I even think there's going to be days where there's going to be like, people are going to need money and they're going to be selling $100 book for $50 when the book in 6 months later or a year from now or 2 years is going to be worth 300. So I think there's a lot of opportunity to make money, but I think a lot of people are going to have to short sell.
Short sell what?
Their comics and their assets. Because I think that's coming, and I think it's going to be because I think people's bills are going to be due. I think lifestyles can catch up to people, and I think a lot of people are going to need capital rather soon, and they're going to be saying, I'll be taking a 50%
This is why Whatnot is exciting. I just get to go, I have a whole box of Zenoscope, and I don't want it. Let's put them in piles and start bidding, you know. My loss is your gain. So yeah, I think people are going to have to take a haircut on their assets. That is, yes, we're going to experience that. And I think you're also right. Some of those assets are going to include stocks.
I think it's going to be bad, and I think it's going to be bloody. And I'm really curious because there's a lot of companies right now on Kickstarter, and there's a bunch of big ones, and I don't know if they're going to weather the storm so well. I don't know. I genuinely don't know, because I know companies who are doing like 35 variants every 2 months, and I know plenty of Kickstarters and plenty of people, and I don't want to mention names because some of these people are my friends, but I'm looking at them and I'm like, you're spending a lot of money on books and you're doing large numbers, but what happens when this thing really hits? And that's my question of comics right now, is that what happens in that regard? Because I don't know if everybody's ready for it.
I mean, we're already seeing a shakeout in comics. You're thinking it'll get worse, is I guess what you're predicting?
I think what we've seen is just the appetizer.
Okay. I think there's just going to be a massive. So like the 90s, right?
I don't know if it's going to be like the 90s, because I don't think Marvel and DC are going to be the problem. I think what you've had is that you've had unprecedented growth without check. And I think a lot of people have kept putting money back into the company that they're running. And I think there's going to be a day where that money stops. And then all of a sudden, you have to then make a decision as a company. Do I do 12 books? Do I do 24 books? Do I do 36 books? Or do I pull back? Or do I slow down? And if you slow down, but you made commitments, your whole brand now is in turmoil. And the only reason why I know this is that I went through a massive expansion in the last 18 months, and I've overextended, and I've been slowly pulling backwards and bringing it down to a healthier level, because I realized that I couldn't handle what I was doing. By definition, I was not ready for it. And it's an awakening call. When you go from A to B, you realize that, oh shit, I cannot play here. I got to bring it down to a calmer level, and I've been slowly tailing downward, not because of the economy, just because I legitimately just don't have the infrastructure to do it. But I think the economy and where things are going to go is forcing that, and is going to force it. And I'm curious what you think, because that's what I think. And nobody seems to be heading that storm. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But that's what I genuinely think is going to be a problem. Is there's going to be a dry spell of money and problems, because when you have a mortgage payment due, and your job doesn't give you a raise, and your wife and your kids still want to go to Disney World, what do you do? Like,
you get in on this free sticker I'm giving away because it's free, and it doesn't matter that you don't have any money because it all went to poo and inflation. And yes, hard times are coming, and maybe people won't have money for comic books. So, sure.
So how do we get to the gold standard?
That again is why I think, like, embracing like limited edition covers of, like, you're somewhat covered in a stagflationary scenario. The fact that it's limited provides it value if it is indeed a good, like it's good artwork and that was a good artist. So I think there'll always be demand for boobs. Although, as we're seeing with Zenoscope and White Widow, maybe not always anime boobs, but
yeah, I mean, I don't even know about Mount Olympus either. I like Mount Olympus, But even them, I mean, I don't know. I think not safe for work is here to stay.
Yes.
I don't think that. And look, I think I think it depends on the Zenoscope book as well. Like I picked up some
Okay.
Zenoscope books that are good, but I also got them dirt cheap. So if
Yes.
you get a limited 75 for legitly $25 and you sell that thing for $70, I mean, you're making real money. So I think that, it's again, I think it depends on what's gonna happen. But I do agree. I think Zenoscope books, and I like Zenoscope and I have a good relationship with them, but their books are tough. Their books are tough right now. I mean,
yes.
it's just what it is. And
Yes.
I don't know what to tell people. It's just their books are tough to sell. And it also doesn't
Yes.
help that there are people who buy from wholesale who have purposely kind of run me out. Because when you're buying a book for $12.50 and you're selling that book for $36, and then I'm buying the book for $25, I have to long the book. And so naturally I have actually reduced my Zenoscope position from buying from them.
Yes.
And I'll let all the fun people and all those people just enjoy their Zenoscope books.
Okay, here's where, Andrew, you might want to look at getting in on my next Kickstarter for Palace of the Golden Princess #4. Because, you can take out your own cover like I did with, John Lamont, and where that Marissa Pope image came from. Like you get your own private label with your own artist commission, and no one can compete with you.
I'm not opposed to it. I'm not opposed to it. It's coming eventually.
And look, like Palace #4, like I sell 100 of your. Now you're going to provide me the artwork, okay? I'm not paying for that, but 100 copies of your artwork for Palace 4, like write it like $4 or $5 a book. Just about print cost, really. So that's way better than what you're getting from Zenoscope, right?
Yeah, no, probably.
Or something no one can compete with you with. Yeah.
No,
get in, get crazy. Just like the sticker giveaway. Get in, get crazy. You know you want it. Rah. Or wait, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm giving away Snake and Barbarian. Whiskey Paint, I love this stuff. What can I say?
I'm gonna have to figure this out now. I'm gonna have to go find a good artist now.
Whiskey Paint, he's amazing. Look at this thing he did. I asked him to do like Frank Frazetta style. Look what he turned in. That's and he said he had to change his whole palette on that to get that image, because Frank Frazetta uses a fairly brown palette. If you look at his images, he doesn't use like a lot of bright colors. That was one of the criticisms of him. He's really good. And of course, if you can get Keith Garvey, great. But Keith Garvey's gotten pricier lately. As well he should.
That's the problem, is that everybody's gotten pricey lately.
Yeah.
It's so.
And Lee Duva, I'm giving you all my stickers. I'm glad I only have to ship. It's lower cost if I just have to ship one envelope. Oh, hey, I think he loves Whatnot now. Instead of listening on YouTube, he's on Whatnot. He's getting free stuff. But yeah, look, you've talked to a lot of people. You've talked to a lot of artists. You've had Marissa Pope on your show. I'm sure they have a bunch of other comic artists on your show. Find some that you like, that you think are hot, not like the artist, but like what they make, and get into the comic production business. There's no easier time.
Oh man, I'm
my first really hot cover was White Widow 4, and it's gorgeous. I printed up 500, and I sold out of the 250 virgins, and I still got like 50 with the trade dress. I just sold one last show.
When is Palace 4 coming?
Probably in like a month, 6 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, we're gonna start with this off air, because I have to, because now I'm really curious about this and how this is gonna work. But I have an idea who Oh, no. So like 100 print run, and then
Yeah. Yeah,
okay.
100 print run for like, say like let's say $500 for 100 books, right? Plus shipping, okay, like whatever it is to ship it to you. So I'm not making much on that, as you can imagine, and you get your own exclusive print run. And how do you want to say? I mean, look, you run a show, Conversations in Pop Culture. You could be hawking those things every day, right alongside your sponsorship. You know, thank you, Preston Poulter, Podcast Comics. By the way, here's Palace 4. Like, it all folds together, you know? So.
Yeah.
So if nothing else, I think I maybe hopefully found an investor for Palace 4. I'm happy. I think it's I just looked over the breakdowns for Palace 5, and there's a lot of booty in that story.
There's a lot of stuff in Palace because I read the first 3.
What do you think?
I enjoy Palace. I thought,
there you go. There you go.
I thought the first one was like, what the fuck are we reading here? And then you get into 2, and then you get into 3, and then it kind of starts making sense a little bit more. But the first one, you're like, okay, like, what's the deal with this character? Is she, binded? Is she, under a spell? And then you kind of start seeing what the hell's going on. And yeah. So it's interesting in that regard. But yeah, so that's kind of what Palace is. But
Palace 3 has been, because it's really subversive, because you get the whole pillory, male enslavement, forced sexual services angle. And I sold a copy of Palace 3 to a guy, just that one. He's like, I don't need 1 and 2. I just want that one, where she's like, and the sticker piece. So, it's
this today I get canceled from YouTube. So the Celtics lose, and I get canceled from YouTube. Thanks, Preston. I really appreciate it.
Fair enough. Hey, I'm very careful of my content over here.
I think I enjoyed Palace a lot so far. 4 should be a lot of fun. And the whiskey paint cover is a good one. I like that one a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no, it's definitely. I enjoyed Palace. I haven't read Guinevere. I read White Lily. Mm-hmm. White Lily's a fun one.
Right.
But White Lily, there's nothing sexual in White Lily. I mean, it's about fighter pilots.
There is a sex scene.
You know what I meant. Know what I meant.
Yeah. I mean, but I got to say, like, the sales of White Lily at conventions, it's like 50-50. Like what trades I'm going to sell. But in terms of selling on eBay, or people like boobs, they sell a lot. Whereas you're like, hey, the 2 deadliest female fighter pilots who ever lived, that's going to do on eBay. Like, no.
I agree.
Have a sexy hook. Yeah.
I agree. I completely agree, in which that I know for a fact. I have nude covers, and I covered up. And every time I have one of those, so like, could you send me the picture? I'm like, no, you could buy the book. I'm not going to go send you, because I don't know who you are. I don't know if it's your mom's account, and I don't want an angry mom, with her 12-year-old son or 14-year-old kid. Be like, like
the old days of sneaking the Playboy out from your dad's room or something. You're like, I went on eBay on mom's account and got a peek at anime boobs.
Yeah. I mean, this happened to a friend, guys. I mean, clearly.
Yeah.
So again, I'm like, you could buy the book, okay? If you want the book, you can buy it. I'm happy to sell it to you for $80 in person, and then they usually don't get back to me. And I'm like, alrighty. And I'm like, this is good. I'm not about to like send out like borderline, images of naked chicks on eBay to people. Like, to me, that just doesn't work. I'm like, if you don't trust me as a seller, I don't know what to tell you.
Exactly.
But I digress. Obviously, you got a lot going on though. You got a lot going on. Where do you think comics are going to go though? Because we touched upon this a lot, but I am curious where. Do you think that they're going more independent, or do you think that the big two are going to kind of fix their problems?
I think it's going more independent. I think increasingly, like the large corporations are somewhat losing touch with consumers. I don't know what's going to happen with AI, but AI is going to put a lot of pressure on like how much an artist can charge, and that's unfortunate. But there's a lot of opportunity for indie creators to put together, like you look at like the talent on these books that I'm able to find at, a lower page rate than I would expect from, established American artists. And I just don't. The big brands that they all rely on, like DC relies on Batman, I feel like they're getting tired. I think it's going to favor smaller, more innovative storytellers who can take bigger risks.
Fair enough. I mean, I have my own opinion on ownership, and I think ownership is shifting away from corporations. So I agree in that regard. Where I think music rights, shifting more independent on a lot of levels on creator-owned projects and musicians and upcoming musicians wanting to own their own stuff. And I think that is becoming more interesting, as well as the fact that I think music royalties are actually becoming democratized at the moment, where you can buy music royalty rights or shares of them now. And that didn't exist years ago. And so I think there is definitely a breaking up of ownership of what people have access to. And I think that's coming in comics. And I think that is a massive shift, where I don't necessarily think that the big two are out of this yet. And I don't think they're ever going to be out of it. But I think that also they've shifted, where I think their whole focus is video games and movies. I don't think they care about comics. I think they say, what is the next Batman video game that we could sell 100,000 copies of? And because I think there's more money in that. $60 a pop, you sell 100, 200, 300,000 copies of that. I mean, what is it, 18 million in a heartbeat? And the game costs what, 900,000 to make? And
there you go.
It's a no-brainer. And then also the other thing is that all the mobile apps that they do with these games on their phone, they, I think, make more money than technically any Xbox game. Marvel has one that comes out every month or every other month, and they sell the ads they sell on that outperform every aspect, or they just license it out, and it's crazy. So I think Marvel and DC and their parent companies are the smartest comic companies in the world, not because they're doing comics, because they have legitimately monetized every aspect of their IPs.
Sure.
But I get shit for that. I get shit for that.
Yes.
I don't like it. I mean,
I'm not crazy about it, but it's my reality. When I go to comic book shows, I'm constantly competing with Disney and Warner Brothers.
Guys, I just want to make money, and I have to acknowledge facts so I can make money, so that because I just want to be free, and the more money I have, the freer I am.
Well, look, harness the trends that you see unfolding before you, but more than that, the trends you have control over. You don't have control over what Marvel and DC do. You do have control over getting 100 comic book run for me and choosing your own artist and choosing that pose. You have a lot of control over that. So focus on the things that you have control over, and you will find success. Right?
I like how you're trying to sell me still.
I'm just saying, like, look, it's we can sit here and speculate about Marvel or DC, but ultimately it doesn't really matter what you or I decide is going to happen in the future. We have no control over that.
Not yet, we don't. We thought about a board seat. Then we'll see what happens with Disney.
Exactly.
What'd you say?
They don't want us. They don't need us. I'm just here to tell stories.
But we have to save Star Wars, Preston. We have to save Star Wars.
Oh, I was that thing I think is beyond redemption. I think Dune may be ushering in kind of a new brand of space opera. We'll see. I don't know.
Ah, man, I have a bad relationship with Dune.
Okay.
This is what happened, right? So I was dating a girl, and it ended badly. But her favorite thing is Dune, so I read Dune, and then she read Ender's Game, which is my favorite book. I read Dune, and we were good for a while, and then it ended, and then I just can't do Dune anymore. So that
did she use the voice on you?
No. It just I liked her a little too much, and she knew she was gonna dump me before I knew I was gonna be dumped. So she knew week before, and I knew right when it happened. So it's all right.
Okay.
I'm
sorry that. Hopefully that was a long time ago, and you're now happily involved.
I'm still getting over the hump of Dune. It's gonna be a while.
The hump of Dune. All right. Well, good luck.
I'm working on it. It's tough. BetterHelp, which is my next sponsor. No, I would love a BetterHelp sponsorship. That's their commercial right there, everybody. When you need help getting over Dune, BetterHelp is here for you.
Yes.
But I have nothing to say about that. But I don't know what to say about Dune, but I could see it. But again, that's everything. But obviously, I want to give you a chance to promote yourself. Obviously, I don't know what you're doing on Whatnot.
I appreciate that.
but obviously, you got your Whatnot stuff. You got Facebook.
I do.
You got your writers' room. You got your writers' shops. You got a bunch of comics. I think you got some other stuff too that you do. Man, anything else you want to say?
Yeah, I'm branching out into role-playing games. I'm going to be going to Origins Game Fair here in, I think, June. So that'll be neat. And I do really well at I really like game conventions. It's my crowd. It's my speed. And I do well there. And what I find strange is, like, I'm in a vendor room of a whole bunch of people selling games and selling miniatures, and I'm selling booby comics, and I make a killing because those move to that crowd, and there's like no competition. I'm just like, oh. What can I say? Palace does well, and I expect Palace to do well at Origins.
So where could people find you, hit you up, get your books?
So you can go to pocketjackscomics.com, and you can take your pick of White Lily, Palace of the Golden Princess, or Guinevere and the Divinity Factory, which is debuting in your local comic store this month. And you can enter your name and email, and just delivered right to your inbox will be issue 1 of your chosen series. So if you want to see what Guinevere is about or Palace, you can just go enter your email. It'll be emailed right to you. And if you reply to that email address, you'll be in direct touch with me. What can I say?
Yeah, and then I'm just going to keep saying it. You got to support what you want to see get made. That means that when people have books in shops, websites, Kickstarters, if it's free, their book, and it's on Webtoons, you should go read it, go purchase it.
Yes.
Obviously, people provide services. Obviously, Whatnot. If they're on Whatnot, picking up books of that nature are very important, because that does go a long way. And then let's just say that money's tight, because money is getting a little bit tight with people, and a lot of stuff's going on. One of the things that you can do is you can obviously just follow people on social media, check out what they're doing, all that fun stuff, and follow them, interact with them, share out their content. That is also very helpful and goes a long way as well. So that's something to keep in the back of everybody's head too, is do something like that, because I guarantee you that a follow on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram is sometimes just as helpful as purchasing something, and a shares as well. So keep that in mind. And everything that I got going on, I am Pop Anime Comics on Twitter/X, Pop Anime Comics on the Instagram, Pop Anime Comics on Facebook, Pop Anime Comics on YouTube, Pop Anime Comics on TikTok. I am also Pop Anime Comics Collectibles on eBay. So go look for your comics and collectibles. Come shop with us on eBay. My cute little elf, she wants you to buy things. So please go do that. And I carry a lot of poopy books like this. I carry that. I carry something like this, which is cool. I carry some other fun stuff as well. Apparently, I have been getting complaints for this, and I don't know why, but I carry cards like this, but I can't see it. I can't see it.
Exactly.
And apparently, I told the company I couldn't see it, and like we waited, and I'm like, I can't see it, and they're like, we can't see it either. But we waited, and it's the correct weight. So apparently, people who have gotten that card say I can't see it either. And then I said, did you try 16 times? And said, yes, we tried 16 times. And there you go. So I carry a lot of those.
It is only because of my daughter that I understand the John Cena reference. But yeah,
way to ruin it. Way to ruin it. Just a way to ruin it. Just way to ruin it. No. Those do well for me. So I carry a lot of those. Those are Leaf Anime cards, and they are really cool. It's a nice combination of the anime and sports world, and I got a lot of those in my store. So definitely be on the lookout for that. And then I also carry some cool stuff like this in my store right now too, which is the Taylor Swift stuff. So that book is sold out, and I have copies of that book. So it is the foil trade dress, sold out, I think, 10 minutes. So very cool book, and more than happy to sell that to anybody who wants one, as well as some other stuff. Just don't screw me, because that would be very bad on that book. Would be. It's happened. It's happened. It's terrible. Somebody, I shipped them a book. They then returned it to me saying they never received it, and they put a different book in the holder, which is crazy.
Man. I've had much better luck with my audience. So
it only happened once. It only happened once. And in the 10 years I've been on eBay, that's happened once.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. Meanwhile, he filed a credit card dispute on top of that.
Wow. Horrible.
So
that's definitely a buyer you should block.
No, not block. Freaking like get him kicked off eBay.
Oh, really? Okay. Were you able to do that?
I'm trying to.
Okay. Well, good luck.
eBay's not too happy about it either.
Well, all right. Good luck. I'm wishing you all the best, Andrew. Good luck kicking that buyer off eBay.
He's definitely blocked, but I can't block him until the credit card dispute is taken care of.
Okay.
So unfortunately, until the issue is taken care of, and that could take anywhere from 2 to 8 weeks. It is a royal headache, and it's just a ridiculous circumstance that is unnecessary. Especially because he got the book and then he spent his own money to ship it back. It's an insane story. But it's nobody that we know, so it's all right. If he wasn't with somebody we knew, it'd be terrible. But I digress. That's everything that I got, everybody, and I'll give you the final word.
No, that's about it. Awesome. It's always I enjoy sponsoring the show, and hey, I'm looking forward to Palace 4 and seeing what cover artists you pick out.
I'm gonna need help. And definitely I'm feeling it. I'm gonna think about that.
I mean, why do you need my help? You talk to artists all the time.
Oh man, see, I've never done this before. Like, I'm terrified, but we don't have to talk about that. I don't want to do that.
Fair enough.
It's scary. It's genuinely scary.
It is.
To be honest. I'm not going to pretend here. It's a little bit scary.
Yeah.
But because you're spending money, and I mean, it's going to be $800 to $900, give or take. in the expenditure. And you know, I've never done anything like this, so I don't know what the fuck I need to do, and it's complicated. And but
look, you're in the comic selling business. You know what covers tend to do well. Just get a cover like that.
Now this is even harder. Thanks a lot.
Anyway. All right, Andrew. Well, thanks so much for having me on.
Well, everybody, that is a